Well, hello and welcome to the Three Muscateers. I'm sitting here with Peter Scudamore-Smith, cultivator of all things cultural at Uncorked and Cultivated, and our scribe to the stars, Ken Gargett, and I'm your resident Booze Hound, Chris Deacon. We're here today. Greys have asked us to review, and honestly, to review a range of their wines, and we're starting today with the sparkling stuff. We have a Prosecco and 3 bubbles from probably the south of France or thereabouts, or maybe a bit of Burgundy fruit or something in them. So we've got them here, and we've already popped them, and we're ready to go. So we'll start off with number 1, and we'll defer to you, Ken, to start with number 1.
The Prosecco. We had a quick whiz through before, and for me that's the pick of the lot. I think that's it's got great fruit, it's got sort of minerality behind it, it's nicely balanced, got decent length. It's a very pleasant drink.
Yeah, for me too. I really liked it. I thought it was a very pleasant wine, and when you can, they're telling us that these are under $100 for a 6-pack, then it's pretty bloody good value, I think.
And
absolutely.
No one's going to complain.
Prosecco, which is the Prosecco grape, DOC, is made from that grape, that DOC grape called Prosecco. The Italians prefer to call it Glera, but in Australia we know it as Prosecco. It's made by Cube Close, in other words, it's a big tank fermented. This is bright, cheery, fruity, clever, lovely colour. I always like to see some pale green in any bubbles I drink, and this is a cracker.
The name Glera, though, came about because they decided they didn't want other nations using the word Prosecco, so they did a fast one and tried to change the name of the grape.
Exactly. It didn't work in Australia, it's no longer a trademark. Glera is a very old name for Prosecco.
Right, number 1's a winner. Let's on to number 2. So 2, 3 and 4 I think are all designated Blanc de Blanc, which just means white from white. So white wine from white grapes rather than white wine from red grapes. And number 2 is the Compte de Noblens, Blanc de Blanc. Relatively inoffensive and not too sweet.
They're all French. They don't define further than that. I'm not sure you're seeing a lot of fruit from Burgundy in them. There might be a bit from the Loire and that, but otherwise, as you say, south of France. They've all got fairly deep colour, different levels of sweetness throughout. This first one's a bit of stone fruit. Again, you chill that. It's pleasant. It's fairly simple, but it's quite enjoyable style.
To me, that screams Sunday brunch with a bit of orange juice and mint.
Exactly. These are the sorts of wines you can mix with orange or mix as a cocktail, mix with some other interesting cube of sugar with some bitters in it, something like that. The wines are full flavoured. They're made by what we call the same as the Prosecco, cube close. In other words, a large tank and sparkled. And the base wine is non-vintage. So generally you'd expect 1 or 2 year old wine to be in this. And probably a blend of grapes, not a single variety, but could be some Chardonnay, could be some Viognier, could be some native grapes from the south of France as well.
I get a little bit of Chenin Blanc-y character on that, in that melony stone fruity thing.
Yeah, well that'd be Loire material possibly if it is, but yeah.
It's quite clever. It's quite clever. It's got a lot of fruit, a lot of flavour, a lot of weight, and that carries the sweetness. This wine will be running at about 12, 13 grams of sugar, and it's hard to see it.
So number 2, pretty much a winner too. Now on to number 3. This is the Veuve Truffeau. The widow of truffles, is it?
Veuve meaning widow, that's right. Yeah. As we taste this lineup, they're getting sweeter. So wine 2 is the driest, wine 3 is the next sweetest, and the very sweet will be our last wine. This is quite zingy and lemony, so There could be a little bit of cool region fruit. We talked about the Loire Valley, but it's got certainly a lot of lemon and a lot of really crisp acidity. So alongside the sweetness, there's this flavour of lemon zest. Again, a non-vintage, beautifully made, but a wine you drink today. You don't keep it in cellar.
That's the one thing I'm quite impressed with, is that they're all really quite well made, and there's nothing sticking out. There's nothing that really, you know, is dog's balls in there, and they're all
That'd
quite
be a technical
clever.
term.
Yeah. I think they've coined that in the Master of Wines.
Dehydrated balls.
But I mean, these days you shouldn't be getting bad winemaking, and these are all competently done.
But you do.
It's full flavoured French sparkling wine, very full flavoured, lots of.
And there's even a little bit of a bready, brioche character on there.
What did you have for breakfast? Brioche?
I think it was a McDonald's double sausage and egg.
So Chris is referring to the contact between the yeast and the wine as it's fermented as a base wine. Probably left on the yeast for 5 or 6 months before the wine is commercialised, and a cork put in it. The corks are very reliable. They're using Diam corks, so you won't get any duds. If you use natural cork, expect variation. So every wine should taste the same.
And now on to number 4. And I think we've just lucked it, as it were, to get them in order of ascending sweetness, because this one does have quite a bit of residual sugar in there, and I think appeals probably to the masses.
Oh, you can imagine this in the pub on a Friday night with all the those office workers who are just there, have a nice glass of fizz, don't want anything too thoughtful. There is a fair bit of sweetness in that.
Grande Reserve.
Great with spicy food, or even
Thai food,
or even bitter food.
Yeah.
Chilling. I'd be chilling all these to make sure they are well chilled.
Although we're having them at room temperature, which really does expose anything that might be wrong quite a bit more than if they were chilled.
We're at work. I mean, if we were doing this for pleasure, we'd.
But drinking them warm just shows you how full flavoured the wines are. They just have nice, crisp, full-bodied, white base wines with a little bit of age, probably 12, 18 months old, and just a lot of flavour. So what better to get than a sparkling wine with a lot of flavour produced in France? Here's to you.
Well, I think we can post this one as a bit of a success from the Grey's tasters, because they're all pretty good wines. The Prosecco for me was the choice. I think it's a really quite a good wine, and you'd be tough pressed to find anything at $20, $30, $40 a bottle that really outclasses it.
Yeah, the Prosecco's the pick for me. I think the others are a very different sort of style, and if you like the sweeter styles, then you're probably going to come here. But Prosecco is my preferred.
It's unpretentious wine. It's a bit on the sweet side, but it sits alongside the fruitiness, and I think it's meant to be unpretentious, and that's exactly what it is.
We'd like to hear what you think. You can pick these up relatively inexpensively from Grey's, and let us know in the comments below what you think of them and how you approach them and what you'd have them with, because we're always interested. Thanks very much, and it's good night from us and good night from him, and we'll see you next time on the Three Muscateers.
Ciao.
If you like the wines the boys tried today, click the link below. Glassware supplied by RK. Chris, Peter and Ken are dressed by themselves, and when interstate, like to stay where they can get a discount. This has been a Three Muscateers production.